Tongdung Technology is a professional third-party intelligent risk management and decision-making service provider in Southeast Asia. Tongdung provides customer with risk management through the entire of credit lifecycle, covering every stage from pre-loan assessment to collection of arrears. Effective information aggregation and data analysis are leveraged to provide a fraud probability value for each loan. These predictions can assist customers in effectively fighting fraud and managing credit risk. Tongdung FinScore system analyze a range of variables to produce a risk profile for loan applicants. This profile expresses the applicant's integrity, an intangible asset with a numerical value. By leveraging the vast amounts of industry data and powerful of stream computing capabilities, Tongdung monitor the dynamic risk profile of a borrower in real time. Tongdung Technology is a professional third-party intelligent risk management and decision-making service provider in Southeast Asia. Tongdung provides customer with risk management through the entire of credit lifecycle, covering every stage from pre-loan assessment to collection of arrears. Effective information aggregation and data analysis are leveraged to provide a fraud probability value for each loan. These predictions can assist customers in effectively fighting fraud and managing credit risk. Tongdung FinScore system analyze a range of variables to produce a risk profile for loan applicants. This profile expresses the applicant's integrity, an intangible asset with a numerical value. By leveraging the vast amounts of industry data and powerful of stream computing capabilities, Tongdung monitor the dynamic risk profile of a borrower in real time. Tongdung Technology is a professional third-party intelligent risk management and decision-making service provider in Southeast Asia. Tongdung provides customer with risk management through the entire of credit lifecycle, covering every stage from pre-loan assessment to collection of arrears. Effective information aggregation and data analysis are leveraged to provide a fraud probability value for each loan. These predictions can assist customers in effectively fighting fraud and managing credit risk. Tongdung FinScore system analyze a range of variables to produce a risk profile for loan applicants. This profile expresses the applicant's integrity, an intangible asset with a numerical value. By leveraging the vast amounts of industry data and powerful of stream computing capabilities, Tongdung monitor the dynamic risk profile of a borrower in real time. Tongdung Technology is a professional third-party intelligent risk management and decision-making service provider in Southeast Asia. Tongdung provides customer with risk management through the entire of credit lifecycle, covering every stage from pre-loan assessment to collection of arrears. Effective information aggregation and data analysis are leveraged to provide a fraud probability value for each loan. These predictions can assist customers in effectively fighting fraud and managing credit risk. Tongdung FinScore system analyze a range of variables to produce a risk profile for loan applicants. This profile expresses the applicant's integrity, an intangible asset with a numerical value. By leveraging the vast amounts of industry data and powerful of stream computing capabilities, Tongdung monitor the dynamic risk profile of a borrower in real time.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Warmest greeting for all of us. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. Good morning and welcome to the National Fintech Month's Fintech Talk with the topic Trends and Challenges for Boosting Economic Recovery through Systematic Financial Access for Ultra Micro SME. Hello, I am Ila, the master ceremony for this event. First of all, allow me to greet the speakers and also the moderator of this webinar. Bapak Dr. Andes Beni Bahtiar MSI, selaku Kepala Biro Perekonomian Setda Provinsi Jawa Barat. Mr. Jekyll Ma, as President Director Tongdun Indonesia and co-founder of Tongdun Group. Mr. Kaspar Situmorang, as CEO of Bank Raya. Mrs. Nancy Adistiasari as Director of Commercial and MSME BJB. Mrs. Licia Erza as Manager for Small Medium Enterprises or SMEs and Entrepreneurship at Apindo and CEO of ASICS. Mr. Berli Marta Wardeya as Executive Director of Indef. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and all of the participants for attending today's event. And also, I would like to say thank you to Tongdun for supporting the FinTech Talk event this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, please fill the attendance list where the link has been provided in the chat column, because you will have the opportunity to get door prizes, which will be drawn at the end of the 2020 National FinTech Month. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin this session, allow me to tell you some of the rules of this webinar. First, make sure you have a good signal reception. Second, use your PC or laptop for a better experience. If you are using your mobile phone, adjust the screen for landscape mode or turn on the auto rotate. Third, use your headset or earphone for clearer sound. Fourth, for mutual convenience during the event, the host will set a mute or mute mode on the participant's voice. The last one, participant who want to ask question to the resource person can write question in the Q&A column and state the name of the intended resource person. Questions are submitted clearly, politely, and do not contain elements of sara. Okay, honored ladies and gentlemen, the Indonesian government implements ultra micro financing, which is an advanced stage program from the social assistance program to become a business independence targeting micro enterprises that are at the lowest level and cannot be facilitated by banking through the People's Business Credit Program. Ultra Micro provides a maximum financing facility of 10 million rupiah per customer and is distributed by non-bank financial institution. Of course, this program will be very effective if it is supported by an algorithm-based credit scoring facility. This FinTech Talk aims to explore how credit scoring can be a complement to the Ultra Micro digital finance ecosystem. To discuss further, the Indonesian Fintech Association or AFTEC in collaboration with Tongdun held a Fintech Talk activity today with the topic Trends and Challenges for Boosting Economic Recovery through Systematic Financial Access for Ultra Micro SME. Baik Bapak Ibu yang berbahagia, untuk memulai acara hari ini, mari kita bersama-sama mendengarkan keynote speech dari Bapak Beni Bahtiar, selaku Kepala Biro Perekonomian Setda Provinsi Jawa Barat. Kepada Bapak Beni Bahtiar, dipersilakan.
Baik, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Sampurasun. Mohon izin saya mewakili Pak Gubernur untuk menyampaikan beberapa pesan berkaitan dengan kegiatan Fintech Nasional, Center for Faster Economic Recovery, Collaboration in Balancing Governance in Innovation. Pertama-tama yang saya hormati Presiden Direktur Tongdun Indonesia dan Co-founder Tongdun Group. Yang saya hormati CEO Bank Raya, yang saya hormati Direktur Komersial dan UMKM Bank BJB, Ibu Nancy, sahabat saya yang saya hormati, pengurus DPN bidang kewirausahaan UMKM IKM Apindo, yang saya hormati Direktur Riset Institute for Development and on Economic and Finance atau INDEF, yang saya hormati seluruh tamu undangan yang berbahagia. Puji dan syukur kita panjatkan kehadirat Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, karena atas rahmat dan karunia-Nya kita dapat berkumpul pada hari ini dalam acara Bulan Fintech Nasional atau Fintech for Faster Economy Recovery Collaboration in Balancing Government and Innovation, dalam keadaan sehat walafiat. Salawat dan salam semoga selalu senantiasa tercurah kepada junjungan kita Nabi besar Muhammad SAW. Pada kesempatan ini izinkan saya menyampaikan permohonan maaf dari Bapak Gubernur Pak Ridwan Kamil, bahwa beliau pada hari ini tidak bisa berhadir secara langsung, dan mudah-mudahan kegiatan ini bisa berjalan dengan baik. Namun demikian beliau berharap rangkaian acara dapat berjalan dengan lancar. Hadirin yang berbahagia, saat ini kita sedang menghadapi dua disrupsi, yaitu disrupsi 4.0 dan disrupsi COVID-19. Sudah hampir 2 tahun lamanya pandemi COVID-19 melanda masyarakat Indonesia. Hampir seluruh sektor terdampak termasuk UMKM. Sehingga diperlukan berbagai adaptasi, terutama pergeseran gaya hidup masyarakat dalam memanfaatkan teknologi di masa pandemi ini. Kehadiran fintech secara implisit akan memberikan gambaran sebagaimana pesatnya kehadiran teknologi yang telah merevolusi gaya hidup masyarakat, yang mengakibatkan terjadinya pergeseran di tatanan ekonomi dan landscape sektor jasa keuangan yang dapat menimbulkan distorsi pada masa transisi. Di satu sisi, kehadiran revolusi teknologi ini dapat menjadi solusi bagi peningkatan daya saing ekonomi dan terbukanya akses keuangan bagi masyarakat. Pesatnya perkembangan inovasi teknologi telah mengubah cara pandang dan tuntutan masyarakat terhadap berbagai aktivitas, baik yang bersifat keuangan maupun non-keuangan. Dalam setiap aktivitas, mereka dituntut untuk sebesar mungkin adanya aspek kenyamanan, kecepatan, kemudahan, dan akses efisien. Semuanya ini dapat dipenuhi dengan hadirnya inovasi dan teknologi. Revolusi digital yang saat ini sedang terjadi telah menyadarkan kita bahwa saat ini kita sedang berada di awal revolusi industri 4.0, yaitu revolusi yang mentransformasi proses bisnis dengan lebih memanfaatkan teknologi informasi, otomasi, dan ekonomi digital yang kemudian secara signifikan telah mengubah cara pandang dan melakukan aktivitas ekonomi. Dalam 2 tahun ini kita menyaksikan fintech peer-to-peer lending sangat berkembang dengan pesat. Hal tersebut dikarenakan adanya regulasi oleh otoritas keuangan yang menyebabkan kepercayaan konsumen pada layanan ini semakin meningkat. Secara khusus, keberadaan fintech ini diharapkan dapat membantu dalam meningkatkan inklusi keuangan karena kemampuannya dalam menjangkau masyarakat yang belum terlayani lembaga keuangan tradisional. Manfaatnya ada fintech yang pertama adalah membantu pelaku bisnis atau UMKM memperoleh modal dan mengelola keuangan. Alternatif pembiayaan selain konvensional, mempercepat perputaran ekonomi karena kemudahan bertransaksi, perluasan akses keuangan, mendukung peningkatan inklusi keuangan dan transaksi keuangan lebih mudah, praktis, dan cepat. Tentunya ini akan lebih memudahkan para pelaku usaha kecil ini untuk mengembangkan usahanya. Kehadiran fintech di masa pandemi ini diharapkan memberikan kontribusi bagi perekonomian nasional, khususnya wilayah Jawa Barat, serta memperbesar pembiayaan, serta dengan adanya dukungan pemerintah diharapkan akan menghadirkan solusi nyata dalam percepatan pemulihan ekonomi daerah Jawa Barat. Serta tidak lupa juga kita dalam memaknai perkembangan industri fintech ini, kita perlu terus mengembangkan kolaborasi antara penyelenggara fintech dengan anggota ekosistem keuangan lainnya. Nah, dalam kegiatan usaha mereka merupakan hal utama yang harus terus melakukan secara berkelanjutan. Hadirin yang saya banggakan, saya atas nama pemerintah Provinsi Jawa Barat memberikan apresiasi kepada Aftek yang sejak tahun 2019 bersama Bank Indonesia dan Otoritas Jasa Keuangan mengadakan kegiatan Indonesia Fintech Summit yang pada tahun ini mengangkat tema Fintech for Faster Economy Recovery Collaboration in Balancing Governance and Innovation. Bapak Ibu sekalian yang saya hormati, demikian yang dapat saya sampaikan dalam kesempatan yang baik ini. Mudah-mudahan dengan kegiatan ini bisa memberikan kontribusi yang positif bagi pengembangan ekonomi, khususnya ekonomi mikro yang ada, yang memang hari ini merupakan salah satu kekuatan ekonomi nasional di Indonesia ini. Sehingga manakala UMKM ini bisa tumbuh dengan pemanfaatan fintech ini, insya Allah ke depan UMKM kita akan semakin baik dan semakin sukses lagi ke depannya. Demikian yang dapat saya sampaikan, lebih kurangnya mohon maaf, semoga acara ini dapat berjalan dengan baik. Billahi taufiq walhidayah, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Gubernur Jawa Barat, Muhammad Ridwan Kamil.
Terima kasih kepada Bapak Benny Bahtiar atas keynote speech yang telah disampaikan. Sebelum kita memasuki acara selanjutnya, izinkan saya untuk mengundang seluruh panelis dan juga moderator, serta Bapak Benny Bahtiar untuk membuka kameranya sebentar karena kita akan ada sesi foto bersama. To Mr. Jekyll Ma, please open your camera for a while because we will take a picture together. Okay, I will start the countdown for the first session. Can we do a smile? Okay, boleh senyumnya Bapak Ibu? Okay. I will start the countdown, right? 3, 2, 1, cheers. Okay, thank you. One more time with thumbs up. Boleh Bapak Ibunya thumbs up ya? Okay, thumbs up. Okay, thank you. I will start the countdown. 3, 2, 1, cheers. Okay, one more time. Okay, one more time with Ibu Nancy. Okay, we will wait for Bu Nancy. Okay, we will take a picture again with the thumbs up maybe. Okay, we will thumbs up. I will start the countdown. 3, 2, 1, cheers. Okay, thank you so much for all the panelists and terima kasih Bapak Ibu atas sesi foto bersamanya. The next session is presentation from Mr. Jekyll Ma, the President Director of Tongdun Indonesia and co-founder of Tongdun Group. To Mr. Jekyll Ma, the floor is yours.
Mbak Diandra, saya boleh leave ya, ada kegiatan lain?
Okay, thank you very much. And it's a pleasure. Today, I'm glad to participate in this event. I personally spent a lot of time on the Indonesia operation myself and overseeing a lot of development in the area of intelligent credit scoring. And then today I'm going to spend some time with you on this particular topic, which is closest to my heart. At a very young age, I actually personally started free companies, small companies at the age of 24, and I know how hard it is for small companies to get financial access. So I think today we're going to talk to this particular topic and see how technology have advanced and why we think right now we have the ability to help more and more MSMEs to overcome financial difficulties, the difficulties that they have in accessing finance. So next slide, please. Okay, so today, I'm going to go through three different portions. The first portion is about basically why MSME is important. I think, everybody knows it's important, but we're going to go through some data and really understand why this is important. And then, we know that this is important. We have been doing it for quite some time. But why right now we have the ability to do better than the past? Because we actually have very new model of how different sectors can work together to really solve this solution that we've been facing for over a decade, really. So I think that's the second part that I'm going to solve. And then the third part, I'm going to show some real life case studies, like how these type of models, these type of services can help a lot of MSMEs during the pandemic. Next slide, please. Okay, so about the importance of the MSMEs. Next slide, please. well, we take a look at some of the numbers, like, well, from an overall number perspective, from like job opportunities that's offered, from an import-export trade volume, from GDP contributions, like MSMEs is becoming very, very important in Indonesia. However, we look at like taxation contribution. It's very interesting. I think like we still have a lot to do, but that also shows us the difficulty that we have. We have a lot of cash-based business. We have a lot of our very small like type of like business around that we don't know how to help, and they don't have any record. When they need money, we don't know who to trust, who not to trust, and so on. So that has been a problem. And then if you look at the credit growth like of 1.5 to 2% year over year, like on the MSME financial market, it's really slow. And all in all, like we find out that at least 69.5% of the financial needs from MSME, they are not fulfilled or only partially fulfilled. There's a huge funding gap, like about 165 billion US dollar that it's not like the society don't have the money to fill this gap. It's like more like we don't know how to fulfill this gap. Why? A lot of these MSMEs are very weak asset based. So all the collateral based like lending wisdom that we have in the past, they are no longer true here. As I mentioned, they don't have financial reports, lots of cash based business. So it's very difficult to create credit profile. Information are very asymmetrical because, well, those people who have the information about these MSMEs, they are not linked to anybody who's going to like, well, who these MSMEs go to when for financial needs. So it's so difficult to predict what their risks are, and like very difficult to track, very difficult to regulate. That's the situation. So important, but like we have difficulties to solve this problem. Next slide, please. So like if we take a look, we spend a lot of time taking a look at the financial service sector master plan. Okay, that we just examined. And if you ask me, there's a lot of information in there, but there's a few that really catch my eyes. I think, well, when we need to increase the role of financial services in supporting priority economic sectors such as MSMEs, and then how do we do better job creation and regional development? So regional MSMEs is becoming very important. So I'm glad like today we have officials from West Java on this as well, because I think regional it is going to play a big part of it. And well, support FSS digital transformation, innovation, and acceleration. So the second keyword, innovation. So MSME innovation. The third one is like, how do we develop regulatory frameworks? So it's very difficult because like in the past, we don't have a very easy like framework to regulate. But right now with overall like I would say technology advancement, we actually can do better. And then the sectors becoming very interesting because it's not like individual companies. There's an ecosystem of companies that work together. Like I will say all these people working together in an ecosystem really help solving this problem. So the third keyword, ecosystem. And then finally, I think we need a lot of research and do like better research, better analysis and data to support digital transformation. So all in all, these are the few keywords that we look at the master plan of FSS, and then these keywords will echo in what we should do. Next slide, please. I'm trying to use a very simple example like to illustrate the few keywords that I've just mentioned in the last slides. Remember, we want to like help MSME, we want innovations, but also we want that in ecosystems. So when you combine these together, like we use this example, like Tongdu naturally, together with reliance on insurance, we actually have our FinScore together with our insurance company that can help financial services to evaluate their like borrowers, and also have insurance company to help them if these risks are way beyond their original thoughts, and like financial organizations sometimes like can have other ecosystems that can help them to deal with the anomalies that they might see. So like I just give you a simple illustration is, for example, a borrower will apply for loan like to the FSI, and they will inquire, the FSI will inquire Tongdun for the fin score. The FSI receive the fin score data that consists of social and a lot of other informations that an ICS like Tongdun did. But after that, actually, the FSI will disperse the loan based on the fin scores indicator, and also an amount like will be given to the Reliance Insurance based on the fin score, okay, different percentage of insurance that need to be given to Reliance. But after they have done that, they have like issued the insurance. If later on there's default, like after 90 days default, they will submit the claim, and then Reliance will pay 100% amount of the default payment. So that way we have, okay, basic risk that FSI organization is managing. There's risk beyond normal that like insurance companies help, like really reducing overall systematic fraud to one individual organization, for example, through some special events. I think that really helps move out the overall risk. So here again, you see fintech companies, you see insurance company, FSIs like working together, technology company like Tongdun working together, and we help solving the issues for MSMEs. While we really want to boost the financial access for MSMEs and protective loan, and this is extra example of how in tandem we can work on that. Next slide, please. So like all in all, well, we really believe technology have advanced, and then these technology advancements really can accelerate MSMEs financing services. Well, and all of that is through establishing more better data-driven financial services for MSMEs. And there's 4 areas I want to talk about. And the most important area actually on the right side is there will be a lot more comprehensive data dimensions. And like with the advancement of big data technology, like we can integrate a lot of different type of data sources that's about business groups, individuals, and business owners. And then like we will form together like these informations and try to build a corporate credit profile. So that's going to put some intelligence like into how we evaluate. And then like with very scientific modeling, dynamic predictions of corporate risk, we actually like put these like into a much more efficient way, because we can rely a lot on like machines. A lot of these loans can be like without manual intervention. So in the past, most of the MSME loans need to go through like manual intervention, because we don't know, we need to go through a lot of due diligence and so on and so forth. So the fact that we can do that like will make it more efficient. And then, well, we can feedback constantly all these results and make it like more and more accurate over time, because like we have better symmetrical information. So with technology, we really have solved these problems that we have tried to solve in over 20 years in most part of the world, because in the past, these data are not available. Even if they are available, it's not easy to pull all of them together in scientific models. But right now we do have that. Next slide, please. So I'm going to go through this like 4-sector like interaction, which really make it happen. In the past, we find out that there's a lot of information. For example, BPJS information, judicial information, taxations, and a lot more, like telco informations, municipal informations. Like government do have a lot of informations. And then like as governments opening up these informations, actually it helps us to like really help process these informations and form the financial brain that is required for helping MSMEs and financial services to work together to solve these MSMEs financing problems. And the role of government is really like they can help like manage the and coordinate all of this data, and then like really help organizing some of these informations. And in some cases, in the example that we have, we actually work with provincial governments and form JV companies to hold all these informations and then process these informations, and then after that work together with MSMEs as well as financial services and make it work in tandem and everything like work together. So government play a very important role. MSME is going to start demanding whatever financial demands they have. And financial services organizations in the past, they only publish financial products and see whether some people will apply for it. But with these four sector interactions, the demands will be better examined. And then the matching of these demands will be from previously a product level, right now can be into a demand by demand level. So for example, in the past, some SME may say, hey, I only need 45 days for this particular financial requirement. But on the other hand, like financial institutions don't have that. But right now, like with these like dynamics and with the evaluation in the middle, financial brain in the middle, we actually pull all these supply and demand together and try to find a match. And then like new financial products are being created because of these as well. So that like is very successful. And then also technology like play a big role. We need to constantly run all these indexes. Like we need to constantly enhance all the models in it and make sure it's better and more accurate every day. So these four sector interaction play a very, very major role in why we can do better MSME financing with technology right now. Next slide, please. And another very important area, if you look at it, is in the past, when we try to like loans to MSMEs, we'll do portraits for their particular business. But right now with like big data, like I love the examples that we went into. We went into a lot of provinces, a lot of different cities. They actually like would require what we call dual portrait. You need to do portrait of the business itself, but you also need to do profiling of the business owners and in some cases, the senior management team as well, depending on the size. So with the dual portrait, dual profiling, we actually will be a lot more accurate in predicting whether these people would have the ability to really repay what they ask for from a financial perspective. Next slide, please. Okay, so like we've talked about like how this will work, but I would really like to like show you about how some of these like MSMEs are being helped through the pandemics. So next slide, please. So in one of the China cities of Tangshan, is in northeast city close to a port. The major industry in there is steel, as well as some natural resources as well. So logistics companies, ports, and then like steel manufacturing and so on. So like the Tangshan government decided to build a platform with the four sector interaction that I've mentioned. They actually have come together and make coordination with a lot of the ministries and help organizing the data for that particular region on a regional effort. And then we actually help them to organize all this data, cleanse all this data and put it into usable format. And later on, we can start building models around it. After doing that, we help like structuring how financial services can participate and how MSMEs can start registering and putting the demand. So over a period of like between 2019 and 2021, like almost like a 2 years period, we actually have 14,000 companies come and register as a company, start looking at what they can do. And then there's about 4,000 of them apply for financing. And then all in all, there's 62 financial institutions participate in the process. They create new products to match these demands. And then overall, there's 242 products being offered for these 4,000 financial needs. All of these are being evaluated. The credit worthiness is being evaluated. And over the 2 years period, there's about $70 billion worth of loans being provided to these very small MSMEs. And the 4,000 companies actually come multiple times, fulfilling their needs, short terms, medium terms, and so on. So it's very successful. And all of a sudden, these MSMEs who during the pandemics, we started the project 2019, December launched, and then the pandemic hit China. And then during the heaviest months of May 2020, we actually help a lot of MSMEs survive the pandemics. And surprisingly, or very happily, the models that we have predicting that these people can repay, they all repay. So with all this information that got opened up from the government, and with all these models that we have, we actually accurately predict these behaviors and have helped a lot of people. And the federal government in China actually have praised our project because we have helped so many people. We help these business from being put out of business and so on. And ever since that, we work with a lot of different cities such as Shanghai, Hangzhou, who's different. Shanghai's financial services oriented and the ecosystems and MSMEs around that. Hangzhou, a lot of small e-business, e-commerce, and a lot of small MSME around that and so on. So different type, and some of the other cities that is doing a lot of redwood furniture, for example. So different cities, different regions, we help them differently. So this is pretty regional sometimes, MSMEs. It cannot necessarily be solved by an overall, I would say, pan-country, the countrywide solutions. But I think we're glad. And I'm very happy because the reason why I start Tongdun is because, not exactly because of money. I think we can use technology to help a lot of people, and we did that. So this is the example that I want to share to you. Next slide, please. And then they very proudly present that in their operation center in downtown every day, about what they do and how much money has been matched with our systems with them. We do have a JV in there helping them to operate every day as well. And we have since then work in a lot of other cities. Next slide, please. So all in all, to sum up, I think this type of financial brain, it helps MSMEs because they can have access to more finance channels. People can predict their behavior, so more people are willing to lend to them. And then their needs are better matched because people can really tailor for their requirement. And then fast execution. So a lot of the loans are executed in very, very short time period. And the benefit to financial institutions is really they actually can assess these market segments that they have never been able to assess, without too much risk. And then the prediction is quite precise. The time for loan review is shortened, so they actually save a lot of money for all the loan approval as well. And then the NPL rate is well within controllable limit, increased profit. And for the government, they are very happy because accelerating MSME finance is very important for the government. It helps the regional GDP growth, and it helps solving the dilemma for many, many years. And then all these comprehensive data that they got for these MSMEs help the overall economic planning for the upcoming region as well. So when you think about it, it's not like only MSMEs and financial services benefit, because we have a lot of additional data about the economic activities, and that help plans around the region as well. So these become like very useful. So, and the monitoring of these actually help them monitor very long-term economic trends as well. So all in all, these are the benefits, and this is the case study that I want to share with you. And I want to spend more times for the panel discussion. So this is all I have. Next slide, please. Okay, so that's all I have. So thanks a lot, and I hope that this is useful for everyone. And back to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jekyll Mao, for the presentation. The next session is our main event, which is a panel discussion, which will be led by Mr. Berli Marta Wardaya as the Executive Director of INDEF. Please welcome Mr. Berli. The floor is yours. Okay, we will wait for a while because Mr. Berli have a technical issue. Hello, Mr. Berli?
Distinguished.
Hello, Mr. Berli?
Tongdung Technology is a professional third-party intelligent risk management and decision-making service provider in Southeast Asia. Tongdung provides customer with risk management through the entire of credit life cycle, covering every stage from pre-loan assessment to collection of arrears. Effective information aggregation and data analysis are leveraged to provide a fraud probability value for each loan. These predictions can assist customers in effectively fighting fraud and managing credit risk. Tongdung FinScore system analyze a range of variables to produce a risk profile. Tongdung Technology is a professional third-party intelligent risk management and decision-making service provider in Southeast Asia. Tongdung provides customer with risk management through the entire of credit life cycle, covering every stage from pre-loan assessment to collection of arrears.
Oke, baik Bapak Ibu, mohon maaf tadi ada sedikit gangguan teknis. Untuk sesi diskusi panel ini, saya serahkan kepada Bapak Sofwan. Kepada Bapak Sofwan, dipersilakan.
So thank you so much. Perhaps because Pak Berli has some interruptions or just connection issues, I would like to just follow with our panel discussions on today's FinTech talks. Perhaps together with us, we then on the discussion. Wait, just 2 seconds. Okay. Okay, Pak Berli, are you there?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
We have a follow-up question for Mr. Jekyll Mao. Yeah. How can algorithm-based credit scoring help the ultra-micro disbursement process? Yeah. Because I mean, that's always the biggest. Yeah. I mean, for the big big company, yeah, the risks are considered lower because they have established credit scoring. Yeah. But for the for the medium and small enterprise, there is no data, but you promise or even stated that your company can provide.
Sure. Okay. Thank you for your questions. And I want to say that algorithm-based scoring right now, why is it very important? What's so special about it? Is in the past, we have very limited information to evaluate, like an MSME. Like the information is not available, and even like some of these informations sometimes are available, sometimes not available. Very difficult for us to put into a model. But like right now, like for example, in Tongdun, like to evaluate every company, we have over 40,000 different like variables that we are assessing them. Most of them are holes, like we have 0 in there. But like even in a very strange like arrangement, we have some data. And this small amount of data with the advancements of like data analytics, we would be able to make a lot of sense out of it. And that's why company like such as social data and also the government opening up the data, like the one that I've mentioned, really help us to create models that tracks. And then like in the past, that's not possible. So the very important part is the fact that we have more data than before. We have data from different area. Other example that I can give you, for example, MSMEs, but they are doing some productions. They are doing some like creating small factory, for example. Like they actually have environmental data. These environmental data actually help you to show like the healthiness of like what exactly is their production level. And then for restaurants, like how much water they use, how much electricity they use, actually all these informations help us a lot. And all this information in past need to be coordinated. Even if we know that they are useful, we need to collect from many, many places. But right now we can all instantly have this information all come online into models, and then we formulate these models and solve the problems. That's why Tongdun, as an ICS, we help formulating these models and help a lot of our customers like Ban Raya, like BJB and so on. Like we help everyone to solve some of these problems. So that's how algorithmic data model work.
Yeah, perhaps Pak barely just lose the connection again. So I would like to proceed with our second panelist, Mrs. Nancy Adistiasari, Ibu Nancy from the BJB, the Director of Commercial and MSMEs BJB. So we would like to know in terms of the credit scorings and also the microcredit, how is the process of disbursing microcredit to municipal owned banks from your own experience in the Bank BJB, Bu?
Okay, thank you, Pak Sofyan. I hope that my voice is quite clear.
Yeah, it's clear. It's clear.
No technical issue as Pak barely happen now. And also, I would to say thank you to Pak Jakalma from Tongdan that we also use your support, Pak, to our facility like BJB Laku. So this is a kind of application, online application to do the process, especially for MSME segment. Back to Pak Sofyan question that how we do the disbursement in municipal bank. Actually, we have the same standard and also the same process. I believe with another banks that we do the disbursement process from at the beginning from the analyzing the borrower, and also how about the business, how about the legality, and then how about the financial itself. But sometimes we have to be careful, especially in MSME segment. Some of them is actually we cannot say that they already reach bankable level. Some of them still in unbankable level, so we provide them with ultra micro financing, which is we talk about huge number of borrower for this segment. So in terms of disbursement process, we also build a system in our internal of Bank BJB, how we can do the disbursement in more efficient way. So we can do it by one for each borrower, and also we can do it in a batching process. This is I proudly say that Bank BJB can do that in our internal process. Hopefully, what we do now can support the MSME segment, especially in ultra micro, to grow their business and also to raise their level from unbankable segment to be bankable segment. And also this is we also help by Pak Tongdan to do this on our credit scoring. Maybe this is that I can answer your question, Pak Sofian.
Thank you so much, Bu Nancy. This is very interesting that you are using also the credit scoring, innovative credit scorings for the ultra micro and also touch the unbanked sectors. So I would like to know the perspective from the Apindo. Perhaps I will move to Ibu Licia Erza. So in terms of the what is the condition of MSMEs financing that Apindo are fostering now? Perhaps there is any challenges or there's any potentials that MSMEs financings that from your perspective as an association group.
Right. Thank you. I think as an association, we represent business owners who are growing their business not for subsistence reasons only. That's the first differentiation. And with MSMEs, especially the ultra micro, what we're observing is that some of these ultra micro businesses have subsistence reasoning behind them. So whenever they then were offered formal work, they will leave their business. And therefore, it is very difficult to then create any financial product that specifically supports their business growth. So there's that differentiation to start with. And because Apindo is a trade organization, the businesses that we represent are the ones that are trying to grow from ultra micro, micro, small, medium, and so forth. So what we're building is actually some capacity building in understanding, there needs to be a unified benchmark standard, because now different providers are using different ways of scoring and measuring risks. We understand that from the financial provider's point of view, they do have some compliance requirements that then require them to do all these data mining and also assessing the scoring itself. But what we also find is that because there's no unified benchmark and there's no framework, a bit like the regulatory situation that Mr. Mao was explaining earlier, then it becomes difficult for each provider to follow a certain path. And because we have very different credit scoring mechanisms, it then becomes more difficult for MSMEs, especially ultra micro, to understand which provider is most suitable for them. So for example, provider A, because of their credit scoring mechanism follows a certain framework, they might not qualify, but for another one, they might qualify, but it becomes very expensive for them in terms of that cost to fund. So the question about the condition of MSME financing, for us, it's focusing on how these micro businesses understand their options. So it's a little bit of capacity building so that they know, money from provider A is more expensive than money from provider B, because then that would also affect their performance in terms of repaying those loans. If they can't tell the difference, it's very difficult for them to choose. And then in the end, we will come to the same problems again, like not enough money, not enough access, etc.
Yeah, that's very comprehensive explanation from the association point of view. So we already hear the example from the Bank BJB as well as from the association point of view. I would like to ask Mr. Ma on what are the advantages and also disadvantage of these this innovative credit scoring method. Perhaps you could explain also if there is any example or lesson learned from other countries that would be implementable in Indonesia, that would be great as well. Please, Mr. Ma.
Sure. Actually, like there's a lot of advantage. We talk about some of them. I think from our overall cost perspective, it really lower the cost for like giving out loans because our underwriting cost is going to be a lot lower. It will be a lot more efficient. And then also for the borrower, like they need money, like especially MSMEs, they really have a very short time before they run into difficulties. So they need the money really like yesterday. So the fact that we can quickly pull together like all this information and start evaluating and giving out the loans, I think time is of essence. And also like these scores, really, I would say, when we initially thought about like these scores, we thought about using them during underwriting. But like I have these ideas I want to share with you. A lot of our customers use the scores in many places, in the whole life cycle of the loan itself. For example, like when they target customers, they have a list of customers that they are trying to target and help for MSMEs, but they also need to filter out those that they think that there might be problems or targeting like certain segments. Some of these might be, okay, I know they need money, but they probably need subsidies as well, right? Some of those are, they're pretty okay, like I'm going to just for a normal MSME productive loan and so on. So you really need like scores to really segment your customers and then target them differently. And then like these people also, depending on what type of customer they have, you target them using different media, different weights and so on. So the campaign itself is different. The offer is different. As I've mentioned, like when I talk about the insurance, you also, because of the different risk profile of these people, like you actually need the insurance company to help you, but they will be charging a little bit differently because their risk increase as well. So I think the score, like even and the targeting customers and segmenting customer perspective is very important. Also, when you think about it, like when we have a space of MSMEs that we started to surface, they are not like one-time borrowers. Like at different part of the business, like annually or like a different frequency, they need help. And then like some of these people who come in like one time and they don't apply, they don't ask for help anymore. Is it because the products are not correct? Like how do you analyze these and say, hey, like why are some of these companies only come in once and then they never ask for it again because they become rich? No, it's because of other problems. So you use the scores, segment it again, and try to find out like why and what else you can do to help them, for example. So the different part of different stage of the loan life cycle, you have to use these type of score differently. During collection, for example, like when the loan is in default, you also use these scores to prioritize your collection effort. Like you probably would try to collect for those that's more dangerous because you know that if you don't collect, then later on they become default like a lot easier. The earlier you get to them might be better, but some of them is, you know, they're probably late a little bit, but it can wait. So you use these scores to prioritize and like change your different mechanism in terms of collection. Some of them are just friendly reminder, you're fine, like send them to free SMS and they are fine. Some of them you really have like to use other means for collections and so on. So in the whole overall cycle, I think you need to use it. However, we talk about the disadvantages. The disadvantages, like the organizations that need to be like better in terms of how they handle digital informations. Like I think they need to be better in terms of the overall digital transformation cycle, because you need to be able to process this information. Remember, the scores are normally combining what the financial services organization has internally with a lot of external data, and then you combine them together, and then like we formulate scores. So you need to work in conference with a lot of other partners in the ecosystems, and it really increased the requirement on your ability, your IT ability, your data ability, and so on. So that actually is not like every bank is ready, when we see a lot of banks. We also go to these banks to help them to make them to be more ready, I would say. But there is a requirement like to really use it correctly. So like it's not like as easy as it seems like on paper. So those are some of the, I would say, pros and cons that we have to be aware of.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ma. That's very great explanations on the advantage and also how the credit scoring method can be used for the MSMEs. And perhaps I will move to Ibu Nancy. Looking at the Bank BJB as one of the biggest regional bank in Indonesia, we would like to know what are the obstacles or the challenges in selecting a proper or a good prospect loan in the West Java region, Bu.
Okay, thank you, Pak Sofan. Maybe I have to explain that as one of the regional bank, our branches actually is not in West Java only, but we already spreading into 14 provinces in Indonesia. So I will answer your question on behalf of not only in West Java, but based on our experience in 14 provinces in Indonesia, which is this is quite similar in all across the province. In the ultra micro financing, in which we talk in MSME segment, the main issue is most of them are in the first staging of business. Most of them also receive the new loan to start or to improve their early stage of business. It means that there are no credit history. They also don't have a good or proper memo or financial record to help us as a bank to analyze or to do the due diligence of their business. This is what the main obstacle in the ultra financing. But again, this is something that we have to do, because we know that most of the entrepreneur in Indonesia is at this segment. So we have to find out how to break the obstacle and how to support the MSME segment. So first, most of them we do the partnership scheme. We are looking the entity to be our partner, and also they have to be the avalis and also off-taker. Most of it in the food sector, so we can provide the financing. Usually we use core to finance the farmer. When the farmer have the avalis and also the off-taker, it will reduce the risk significantly. So this is how we try to still do the financing in the MSME segment. And then how if there are no off-taker or avalis? So it means we financing the entrepreneur at the early stage, but maybe in very spread sector. And then we have to do the due diligence for each of the borrower. In the condition that they don't have proper financial record. So we need another data, not only about the debtor or the borrower itself, but also from the macro. We need to know that in this area or in this kabupaten, how many NPL or non-performing loan at this sector. Maybe we can say at the trading sector. And then how about the spreading of the non-performing loan from this each sector? So we use the major or the macro data to help us doing the analysis or doing the due diligence. That's why we need to use the big data. Honestly, currently we also try to build our big data itself by internally, but I believe that we still need another help from the from the outside to help us to do this kind of due diligence, because in MSME segment, again, we cannot rely on the borrower itself. And also we still try to improve our application and also our way to do the due diligence internally, manually, or also use the help of IT with big data, and also how to improve our account officer to make them easier reach the target or the borrower by using not they don't have to back to office and do the something in PC, but they can do their handphone. And also how to track our current borrower. How about the documentary? How about the monitoring? We still try to improve all of it to increase our level in internal big data, and also again using another party to help us doing this analysis. Maybe I hope my explanation can answer your question, Pak Sofan.
Yes, that's very clear, Bu, and also thanks for sharing your experience not only in West Java region but also in other regions that Bank JB has already operated. I think we already have Pak Berli again back. I'll hand over to Pak Berli. Silakan Pak Berli.
Yeah, young session is experiencing a lot of volatility and uncertainty, but I'm sure the audience and the panelists are still on fire. Yeah, we'll continue with Bu Licia Elza, which is not only a CEO, a successful female entrepreneur, but also in the executive committee of APindo, the Association of Indonesia Employer. So from the point of view of employer for businessmen, how do you think the current and the digital financing landscape? Is it better? Is it how helping it is for your member and especially those in the level of medium and small company? Do you think in the last couple of years the change of landscape are helping out, and what do you expect in the near future? Okay, Bu,
Yeah. Thank you. Welcome back, Pat. I think if we look back to before the pandemic, APindo also works with ecosystems like financial providers, with also different organizations in the financial ecosystem. And the word from the SMEs were almost, if I summarize, it's easier to go to heaven than getting finance in Indonesia. So that was the general sentiment. But what we've seen in the last few years, especially in the last 2 years in the pandemic, people realize that digital is the way to go. And digital is part of the business because it does create visibility, and then it creates verifiability. Some of the businesses, because of their misinformation in the past, may have practiced things that are not compliant. They may have have double bookings. They may have done different things for different reasons. But in the last 2 years, with the digital landscape, it helps because, as Ibu Nancy also mentioned, getting data is not just about the business, but it's also about the macro information. It's also about the personalities. It's also about the leading entrepreneur's likelihood of being able to repay back the different loans. So in terms of how digital actually helps, it helps a lot, but it cannot help if it stands on its own. So say, for example, a credit scoring mechanism that's been built comprehensively by Tung Dun, but if it stands alone and not being used by the ecosystem to provide more verifiable data, then that credit scoring mechanism will not work either. And equally, from the bank's point of view, or even the non-bank's point of view, if they don't have any visibility over certain industries, certain sectors, then it becomes difficult. We at Apindo have also promoted the use of digital. We've created and launched an entrepreneurship portal where it helps different businesses have their track record in one portal. We've launched this earlier this year, and it's part of the Apindo website as well. And the reason we do that is sometimes as an association, we get approached by different businesses looking to work with smaller businesses. They ask us to curate 100 new suppliers that can be onboarded into their business. But it is very difficult for us to curate these businesses because they're not pulled into any ecosystem whatsoever. So that we're trying to bridge that in a way that businesses can then work together. They can do their trades and find their either bigger or smaller suppliers, distributors and whatnot. And that track record then builds that history of transactions, of collaborations, which then feeds into the credit scoring, feeds into the opportunity to get finance. And the other thing that we've done in the past 2 years, we've also building that understanding of what digital does for you beyond the e-commerce portals. It's great that you're on social media. It's great that you're selling online in the different online stores. But beyond that, what about your reporting? What about your own financial management? What about your own HR management, your operations, etc.? So how we see the MSMEs also evolve in their understanding of different requirements is something that we all need to support. From an association's point of view, if you're an entrepreneur who wants to grow, needs to grow, then come and work with us, because then we also work with different organizations. We work with IFC, we work with World Bank, we work with UNDP, and for different clusters as well. Some of the recovery efforts that the SMEs are going through at the moment is also looking into sustainable options. So there are new business opportunities, which previously as a micro business, they would not have thought about it. So things like, waste collection, that is something that an ultra micro business can do, but they haven't seen that as an opportunity yet. But the moment they do that, then it gets matched into the growth of sustainability industry, for example. Then it becomes something that can grow together. It makes it easier for data collection and verification. And it follows the trend. Instead of everybody coming up with the same snack business, clothing business, without anything new and adds value to the ecosystem itself. So hopefully in the next few years, we don't hear that comment anymore, that it's easier to go to heaven than to get financed. And hopefully that through digital, it's easier for ultra micro to then become professional, which then breaks some of the barriers in their business growth. So I hope that helps.
Thank you, Liz. Yeah, so it's very interesting that we are, in your own word, we are close or getting closer to heaven, because it's getting easier to get credit these days, especially with the prevalence of peer-to-peer lending and let's say the good online credit provider, because Pak Jokowi has been personally reminding us that there's also the negative side, and the need to balancing and take the most of the good and get away or mitigate the negative aspect. So I'm back to Mr. Jekyll Ma. So if the financing for SME are heaven. Yeah, so your algorithm are the key to heaven or the gateway to heaven. Yeah, so could you also could further elaborate, yeah, the advantages, yeah, and but also I think we need to be at least a bit discussing openly the disadvantages and the limit or what apa namanya that are still not the problem that's still not resolved, yeah, even though we expected them to be improved and better in, let's say, 2 or 3 years, yeah. Yeah, so if we can be open about the problem, the challenges, we can also do or coordinate steps to improve them. Okay, yeah, Mr. Jacob, yeah,
Okay.
let's show the key to heaven.
Well, like in this last 2 years, we participate in a lot of projects, and like we try to help solving these issues. I think right now, as credit scoring company, it's like to me, like our customers normally are overwhelmed when they say that, okay, I can get this information from a credit scoring company, like how can I use it? So I talk about the advantage and disadvantage just now, and like, but on the other hand, I would like to put myself into my digital bank customers. For example, like bank writer, like when they use us, like why do they use us? Because a lot of banks, digital banks, when they started, they need to deal with so much data every day, and like they don't have that much data scientists within the organizations. And really playing with data, trying to find out what works, what's not working, like what data is not useful, and so on and so forth, is not the business of a digital bank. However, you really have to do that day by day. So I think scoring company really help them by solving some of these issues, because like I take Tongdun as an example. We have 80% of the people inside the company are either technologists or data scientists. And like we very much focus on playing around with data. One of my data engineering core characteristic engineering team, they just like try to look for special characteristics of the pool of huge sea of information that we got every day. So like it's more like, okay, we will look for something that we might overlook in the past, like nobody looked at, but oh, okay, these few data. Just like in the past when we know that people in US, like they do beer and diapers, right? So in the past, we don't know that. So we just go and have a team just crank out like all this information and try to find for like interesting like data. So I think a lot of digital banks really need that, and we need to supply for that. And all in all, in the country, I still think data scientists are really missing. Like we miss out on the overall amount of professional that's required. There's more and more education coming out, but I still think like the gap is huge. So from a human capital perspective, like that's what we see. And also another area that I like to stress is a lot of organizations, they actually run into a problem because a lot of these informations are being somehow monopolized by the larger, maybe IT giants or retail giants. So like these, well, you either have to partner with them, but on the other hand, at great cost, or like how do you like really mind the gap between the information's differential that you have versus some of the giants. So this has also been some area of struggles. And for a company like us, like credit scoring company, we really trying to help solving these issues by providing a different angle, by giving them additional insights, like try to compete in this very complex world, that had a lot of like data being monopolized. And then also, I think a lot of questions that's being asked by our customers is, well, they like credit scorers, like they can help them and so on. But like some of the credit scorers, they are not really third-party independent. So they might be doing credit scoring on one hand, but they will be doing lending on the other hand, like, well, maybe different subsidiary of the same group and so on. So how do we avoid that? Like, because that's going to make it pretty unfair, and like it's making it like worrying for our customers. So should I be going to credit scorers that's not as third party independent? So these issues, like I think the industry is trying to solve. So Tongdun, ever since day one, we are saying, hey, let's try to do that, and let's try to focus on what we do best, which is like data, and we don't get into the financial services part. We don't get into competing with our customer and so on. And then the last one, like in terms of in the last 2 years, we find out, I think the most important, a lot of customers choose credit scoring company. I think stability is important. So stability of the company, okay, like stability of personnel, but also stability of the data informations that you give me. You don't give me indexes that just keep on going up and down. You give me something that's very predictable and so on. So like that actually is like posting a lot of stress on like the technology behind it. So it actually needs a lot of investment. So we actually have a few thousand like machines sitting in like Indonesia, surfing it every day. So these are the type of things that a lot of our customers is asking for. And I think credit scoring is not something simple. We need to wholeheartedly work on it. And I'm happy like that we have a lot of very good customers. Some of them are here today. And I would say like I also need a lot of help from government as we do more and more productive and MSME in terms of further opening up more like government, if either provincial, municipal data, regional data, and so on. That is required. Because without these raw material, I cannot cook very good scores. So those are some of the things I would say that I've seen.
Thank you, Mr. Jekyll. Very illuminating. Yeah? So hopefully more and more of the keys are opening our gates to heaven. Yeah, financially. Okay, Bu Nancy, yeah, you are the one inside the heaven. Yeah, you are the one that holding the money to be distributed, yeah, to be loaned, to be move the economy, especially the small and medium enterprise. Yeah, we have been talking to many bankers. Yeah, so it's very tempted, yeah, to just stick with the big companies, yeah, to known company at least, yeah. So how do you avoid the temptation? Yeah, we are talking about hell and heaven now. Yeah, the devil do the temptation. Yeah, how do you extend the coverage of the loan, especially to small and medium enterprise? How do you select and make criteria? Yeah, I mean, you are just telling us that you are still in the process of building the big data. So until the big data analytics are being helped by a top company like Tongdun, yeah. So how do you slowly, I mean, without of course, yeah, without risking the bad loan, too much. How do you extend the sage of the smell of heaven to the small and medium company that need the financing badly? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Pak Berli. If you say that MSME loan is heaven, totally agree, because we have a wide market on this segment. Yes, I also admit that the risk quite high if we do only in a usual way. That's why we try to find another help, not only internally, but also we try to look some partner to extend our exposure to go this kind of heaven. We can the partner, I can say, just like Pak Jakalma, to help us doing the credit scoring. And also I have to explain that we try to do the partnership with fintech lending. I hope this kind of partnership also help us to extend our extension our existency on this MSME segment, not only in Jawa Barat and Banten, but in another province in Indonesia, because as our experience also to do the ultra micro financing like this, we have to provide us with a huge amount of personnel also. And this is quietly costly. That's why we cannot do it by ourselves. We have to do the partnership. One of it is using the fintech lending. With the fintech, we hope the risk will be mitigated a lot, because there are 2 steps of due diligence from the fintech itself and also due diligence by us. Hopefully, this partnership can help Bank BJB to support MSME segment in rural area also, in all kabupaten in Jawa Barat, Banten, and also another province in Indonesia. Thank you, Pak.
Thank you, Bu Nancy. Yeah, I mean, I think many of the audience from the MSME are very happy, yeah, that the gatekeeper, yeah, you are the gatekeeper of financial haven, opening up and giving tips how to enter it in the future. Okay, now for those who still wishing to enter the financial gate, financial haven. So I'm having problem to center my camera. Back to Bu Licia, Bu Licia Elza. Yeah, but still, those who are wanted to enter the financial haven are still required to, or still have some requirement. Yeah, I mean there is code, kredit usaha rakyat, we are not required to have aset, for apa namanya, buat jaminan, but still there are some requirement, apa namanya, izin sudah terdaftar legal itu incorporated, ya minimal usaha dagang gitu kan, and even though some of the P2P lending are not requiring those, just enough that you have contract, apa namanya, punya invoice, that you have invoice. So how do you see but still the official bank are not open or accepting the invoice, so what is your assessment of the requirement, the official requirement to get credit in bank and P2P, what is your expectation, what could be changed to make it easier for the small and medium enterprise to get credit and go to financial haven in near future? Okay, go ahead.
Right. Thank you. I think what we're seeing is a shift of 2 paradigms on what makes a loan secure. Banks are tied to compliance mechanisms where it sees the securitization of the loans are based on assets, whereas actually the instruments around the world have also evolved into looking at other means of securitization. Peer-to-peer lenders or the non-bank lenders have a little bit more flexibility on this, because that's why they can move faster. But moving faster doesn't always mean cheaper. You can move faster, but it's not cheaper. You can go for cheaper option, but it's not necessarily of good quality, for example. And the same goes for financing as well, where we see the Kredit Usaha Rakyat being part of a program to open up access, but the banks would also have to maintain the ratio between their core performance and their non-core business as well. And because banks are also operating under very restrictive regulatory frameworks, they do need to balance that, and it's a challenge. Even if intentionally you want to help the smaller businesses, there are things that larger entities cannot do. And the same with corporate governance. Smaller the business, you can move faster, but the bigger your corporation gets, there are things that you cannot do. Now, the trend for these non-banks lenders, for example, yes, better credit scoring reduces that risk, and therefore you can then charge a lower price. But if we go by market logic, would you reduce your pricing if you have the option of not reducing that profit margin? So that's a challenge for all of us to look at these ultra micro businesses, the smaller businesses, on where we want to support them. Is it for an overall national altogether grow, or is it for an industry's interest to grow? If you're a startup, lending technology, what have you, you would want to prove that your industry performs better than other industries. If you're a government, you want to show that across all industries, all of the businesses are growing. So these are very conflicting interests at the moment. But what we're seeing at right now is that shift from just an asset-backed securitization of loans into other options and other instruments. And the government is also showing signs of, we're also looking into invoice financing. But when we look into what's behind invoice financing, we're also looking at supply chain finance, the different instruments that does working capital offerings, for example, where these are more transaction-backed rather than an asset-backed model. And there's also a lot of movements in getting a more gender lens perspective into loans, because a majority of SMEs are women run, but the assets that's registered are likely to be the male counterparts instead of the women themselves. So that creates another challenge, another layer into the challenge of how do we then create a new ecosystem where securitization has many options, and the providers also can pick up many of these options as well. A loan is, it runs on a simple logic. If I go to Mr. Ma and say, hi, can you give me $100? He would assess, do you have a job? Can you pay me back? And how long will I get my money back? So that basic premise runs across whether it's peer-to-peer, whether it's a large bank, whether it's a cooperative. There's that assessment. And that assessment now becomes very complex. It becomes very sophisticated with algorithms, with a lot of the efforts. But in the end, it's the same logic. If I want to borrow money, the borrower needs to know, will I get my money back? And for that service, you charge a fee. Whether that fee can go up and down, that depends on the business risks and the securitization model that we adopt in the future.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Very clear and optimistic. I mean, yes, there are challenges. It's never easy to go to heaven, because otherwise everyone will just go there, So there are some trials, in the process, Even though of course we hope, with the coming, with the disruption that caused by the financial, especially fintech, financial industry, it will make it easier. The key will be available to more people, and that will be prosperity to all. Okay, I will hand the to my co-moderator, Pak Sofyan, that will welcome the question and answer from the audience. Okay, go ahead, Pak Sofyan.
Thank you, Pak Berli. I think we have quite a lot on the question and answer, but I think I just would like to pick two important questions from the audience. Perhaps the first question would be for Mr. Ma. I think from Pak Taufik, what is the hardest obstacle or challenges that Tongdun has been facing in Indonesia And there is also some comment from audience that Tongdun have a very good concept for this financing. So thanks for sharing your presentation, Pak. Perhaps you could answer the question from Pak Taufik. What is the hardest obstacle or challenges that Tongdun has been facing in Indonesia?
Thank you very much. I think if you ask me, the most difficult part when we first enter Indonesia in 2019, when we first started the company in Indonesia, I think the lack of information, the lack of data, how to form our own data ecosystem is very difficult. Like I would say public utilities, for example, like we have to like go around to find like these informations. And then a lot of these informations also like are scattered. So like we ending up like having to do a lot of discussion with different data provider in order to get some of this information. And the fact is like different countries, I would say these data work differently. Their performance on in our models will be a little bit different. And because of that, I would say like it really take us quite a while to like really finish our models. And I'm pretty glad that initially, like I think when OJK started to say, hey, like tell us who we should work with, who we shouldn't be working with, because a lot of people come to Tongdun and ask for, okay, can I work with you? Actually, after while we establish our credit scoring and people like our score, a lot of people come to me and they said, hey, can we work with you? And I'm actually glad that we are very selective. We work with OJK, we say, okay, like who can we work with, who couldn't we work with? So we are very selective to work with a bunch of our customers as well as ecosystem partners. And then that actually help us to shape, okay, our information. And our information right now is very good in the upper segment of the non-bank. I would say like that is a very special segment, right? If you work with a lot of the unwanted financial services organizations or like illegal financial services organizations, you won't be getting that. The fact that like we actually focus on working with everybody that's licensed, that's legal, that like and start working with the banks a lot, we actually help really putting a much clearer picture to this segment that everybody like in the past don't have a lot of information on, which is the upper segment of the unbanked, of the one that we don't have normal, I would say, credit bureau informations with and so on. And I think like that experience is quite important, and it takes us a while to really realize how important a decision that we have. And then like months and like a year later and so on, we find out that our data is better than everybody else because of our own selection. So these are the informations and then the selections. So any country that I go to, the fact that I want to make sure we work with regulators, we work with local governments, and like we want to participate. We're not coming in and say, hey, let's earn money first. I think a business like what we are in, we need to stay here long-term, help the like whole society long-term, and then we will have a business. And I think that is firm in her heart. And like, well, those days, the difficult part of like getting the data and then like getting enough people to try it, having enough samples and so on. Those are our initial difficulties. And so far right now, I think we've gone through a little bit of that. But still, I think if the government can open up a lot more information, that would be very important as well. So I'm willing to work with like all the different provinces and governments and so on to really like work on this problem. Because like for example, I mentioned environmental like informations, right? Your people who monitor these factories about their excess like hazardous waste, like and all these, and this information can also be used in my credit stuff as well, right? So I need a lot of other informations that it can be opened up to the public. And also one more thing that I want to mention, the rules and regulations around privacy. I think like need to be clearer and clearer every day, because the more information we as organization that we need to use, like we, for example, with Bank BJB and Bank Raya, we need to use more information. We need to go through the authorization process of making sure we are fully authorized from a privacy perspective to access this information. It's not like we can access, therefore we can use. So this whole process, I think it's important and everybody's learning. We have these laws, we have all these legislations, but we just need to learn how to conform to that. And we are learning together with our customers on that. I will think that's also very important. Hope that will be my question answer.
Yeah, that's very great, Pak. I think we have one question that addressed to Ibu Licia and also Ibu Nancy. The question will be on, I think Mr. Ma has already mentioned previously that the consumer protections or the data protections. How about if, this is from Ibu Rani Sofia, how about if the borrowers who doesn't have any track record could apply for the loan, and how we ensure that the borrower's data it's already secure, or there is no data breach because of the borrower has any track record on applying the loan, for example. Perhaps we could start from Ibu Licia first, and then Ibu Nancy.
Yeah, every day we see new people entering the financial services market as a lender and as a borrower. So there's bound to be no record in these new markets. That's for sure, because we see babies getting born every day. So every day you'll have new customers all the time. I think what we need to think though is how literate they are in terms of their options. Can they get a loan? Yes, they can. From whom? That's the question. If they wanted a new loan from an established provider, banks and non-banks, then they would have to put extra effort in showing proof that even without track record, they have the potential to be a good customer. Now, if they don't have a track record and they don't want to prove anything, then it's down to Mr. Ma's services and other credit scoring services to then show the lender that, hey, this new client who has no track record, what's the likelihood of any risks that you need to bear? So then it depends on also, is there insurance infrastructure there to support? If it's a higher risk, will the insurance provider then cover that risk for that loan to be disbursed? So literacy of both digital and financial also needs to be built up. If a person doesn't understand the digital landscape, they might download and install 50 different lending apps just because they wanted to have a look at what's going on. But then the provider will see, okay, this might be a high risk person because they have 50 different apps on their phone, even though they haven't really borrowed anything. So things like this are something that we need to think about. So first of all, regulation, it needs to be supportive of the ecosystem, especially that we're looking into a younger generation market. There's not enough data. So the regulation needs to also support these kinds of inclusive efforts. Secondly, the instrument development from the providers also need to adapt, because your markets have changed, the way businesses run has changed, the way credit scoring looks into not just the business, not just the leading entrepreneurs, but also their clients and the macro data. So these instruments need to adapt as well, so that a loan can be dispersed. What that type of loan takes form is something that we can all be creative about, that we can look into the different options for future growth. And then if somebody doesn't have the capability of that track record, they don't have registered entities, you still have your ID card. And now we have a digital ID card that proves that you are a legal entity. So then that is down to your capability, your capacity building, and the environment to build that capacity so that even these persons with no track record can access these loans. And once they do, they can build that track record and build their credit history so that in the future, any credit scoring mechanism can then use that capability to disperse more loans. So can a loan be disbursed given the lack of track record? Yes, but the choice is yours. Do you want established, harder, cheaper, more expensive? It's all up to you. And it's up to us, I guess, in this room to work together to make sure that these cases can be addressed.
So thank you so much, Ibu Alicia. Perhaps Ibu Nancy, do you have any experience regarding this borrower who doesn't have any track record and how you could ensure your bank on giving the lending and also to have like securing their data in terms of consumer protections?
Okay, thank you, Pak Sofyan. For who needs bank support in terms of financing, but no credit record, I think they don't need to be worried because credit scoring is not only about credit record. If you never have any financing from the banks or never have any record on the banks, we will do the analysis based on the client. How about the business? How about the cash flow? How about the legal and permit? And also how about the security? Because for the bank, no track record is better than bad record. Once your name is stated as bad record, or we call it NPL in OJK, well, it's done. We cannot give you any support from the banks. Maybe it will be different if they try to get the financing from another institution, but not from the banks, because banks have clear regulation to check the record from the OJK. So again, for the bank, no record is better than bad record. And we still do that, especially in SMSME segment. If we talk about the data securitization in terms of customer protection, bank is a highly regulated business. About the customer protection is clearly regulated by Undang-Undang Perbankan. So we have to keep the data securely. We won't use the data for another proposal, or we will keep the data because if something happen with the data, we will get some kind of punishment from OJK or Bank Indonesia. So don't worry about the client. Banks, not only Bank BJB, but all the banks, I'm sure, will keep the data of the customer securely.
Okay, thank you so much, Ibu Nancy. Perhaps because of our limited times, just would like to have like closing statement from each of the panelists. Like, what are your experience and also your hopes in order to fostering digital innovations, especially in credit scoring, in order to give greater access for financial inclusions. Perhaps I will start with closing statement from Mr. Ma, please.
Sure. Well, I would say like I really enjoyed the last 2 years journey in like working in Indonesia, like on credit scoring. I think well, when initially only the very new fintech companies are trying to use credit scoring, I think right now it become mainstream that more and more banks are using it. And I think from using it more on consumer, I think right now, like we started to use a lot more on MSMEs. That's really a segment that need our help. I'm really proud on that. And I only think that this is the beginning. So we need to all work together, like not as individual companies, but as overall ecosystems together with associations, with like the regulators, with governments and so on. We will be able to help the MSMEs, which is one of the most important sector, especially when it comes to the recovery. So I think like I'm hopeful to that, and we are willing to participate.
Yeah, thanks so much. Perhaps we move to Ibu Nancy first, closing statement.
Thank you. In this digital area, we as a bank should be agile. We cannot do to support the client with usual way or business as usual. We have to try another way to extend our existence in the public who need bank support. And also we hope that with help from the system and also digitalization, we can support more public who needs financing from the bank, especially in MSME segment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Nancy. And then last but not least, our panelist, Ibu Licia from the Apindo. Please.
Right. So I think for me, the message is, heaven is not impossible. It's not impossible for us, but we do need an agile system. We need data and we need the infrastructure to expand the lending options, the financial access to new markets. What we've seen in the last 2 years was a lot of move into digital, but at the end of the day, everything needs to be human-centric because our users are humans. At the moment, they're still humans. So it needs to be human-centric. There are challenges that we cannot have a short-term view of what we're trying to build. Any data infrastructure, any technology infrastructure needs to be thought through in a long-term growth, because what's now ultra micro, we are hoping that they can be the next medium-sized, large-sized enterprises over the next 7, 10, 15 years. So what we have now, yes, we have trends, we have challenges, but to boost that economic recovery systematically, we do need to work together, and we do need to be more savvy in the use of digital and financial instruments.
So thank you so much. I think I wouldn't give any closing or summary because it's already summarized all of our very interesting discussion this morning. Thank you so much, Mr. Ma, Ibu Licia, and also Ibu Nancy. I will give back the floor to our MC to close the sessions.
Thank you very much for Mr. Berli and Mr. Sofwan for guiding the panel discussion this morning in a very interesting way. And of course, we have gained a lot of knowledge through that discussion. We remind you, for all of the participants, please fill in the attendance list where the link has been provided in the chat column, because you will have the opportunity to get many door prizes which will be drawn at the end of 2021 National Fintech Month. And also, don't forget to watch the next event at 1 p.m. There will be an expert lab with the topic Filling the Gaps, Fintech and Telco Collaboration to foster responsible digital finance innovation and inclusion. The webinar can be directly seen through the www.fintechsummit.co.id. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, in this National Fintech Month, AFTEC, in collaboration with its members and regulators, will discuss interesting topics such as the use of fintech, digital financial literacy, consumer protection, and others. This Fintech Month has been going on since the November 11 until the December 12, 2021. This National Fintech Month will be closed with the Indonesia Fintech Summit 2021 on December 11 and also 12, which will be carried out hybrid, offline in Bali, and online through Bank Indonesia, OJK, and AFTEC virtual channel. Please visit the website www.fintechsummit.co.id and our Instagram account @fintechid to find out various interesting activities during the 2021 National Fintech Month. Come on and get to know fintech better because fintech aman dan nyaman. On behalf of the organizing committee, we would like to say thank you to Tong Dun who has supported the event this morning, and thank you to all the speakers, the moderator, and participants who have attended the event to the end. Sorry if there are any shortcomings. Stay healthy and Godspeed. See you soon. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Tongdung Technology is a professional third-party intelligent risk management and decision-making service provider in Southeast Asia. Tongdung provides customer with risk management through the entire of credit lifecycle, covering every stage from pre-loan assessment to collection of arrears. Effective information aggregation and data analysis are leveraged to provide a fraud probability value for each loan. These predictions can assist customers in effectively fighting fraud and managing credit risk. Tongdun FinScore system analyze a range of variables to produce a risk profile for loan applicants. This profile expresses the applicant's integrity, an intangible asset with a numerical value. By leveraging the vast amounts of industry data and powerful of stream computing capabilities, Tongdun monitor the dynamic risk profile of a borrower in real time.